Think about a modern city at 2 in the morning. If you look closely at the high rises, you'll see the glow of laptop screens illuminating exhausted faces. You have night shift workers keeping the infrastructure alive, executives fueled by their fourth cup of coffee, and millions of people lying in bed, staring at their phones, desperately waiting for sleep that just won't come. We treat this as normal. We treat this as the inevitable cost of living in a highly productive 24/7 society. But what if we are looking at the modern epidemic of burnout completely wrong? What if your exhaustion isn't a lack of energy, but a timing problem?
That is exactly the shift in perspective we need to have. For millions of years, human biology was perfectly synchronized to planetary cycles. We woke with the daylight, we were highly active during the sunlit hours, and we recovered in the absolute darkness of night. Our entire physiological system evolved under the strict rhythm of the sun, but in the blink of an evolutionary eye, modern civilization shattered those rhythms entirely. We have engineered an environment that never sleeps, and in doing so, we have completely confused our own biology.
It is a fascinating and somewhat terrifying realization. We are living inside a 24-hour economy, but we are operating with ancient biological hardware. And modern science is uncovering this profound reality that many of the health crises we face today, chronic fatigue, metabolic issues, cognitive decline, might actually be timing disorders. We are out of sync.
Precisely. Every major biological system in your body operates rhythmically. We are talking about hormone secretion, digestion, immune system activity, core body temperature, and even the way your cells produce energy. Your nervous system depends heavily on this circadian synchronization. When that timing becomes chaotic, your biology becomes incredibly inefficient. Meaning, the burnout you feel at the end of the week isn't just because you work too many hours. It is because your internal clocks are misaligned.
I want to dig into that concept of the internal clock because I think a lot of people assume the circadian rhythm just means what time you like to go to bed. But it is so much more structural than that, isn't it? At the very center of this biological timing system, there is an actual physical structure inside the brain.
Yes, and it is an absolute marvel of neuroscience. It is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN for short. It is a tiny cluster of thousands of neurons located deep inside the hypothalamus. You can think of the SCN as the master biological clock of the human body. It acts like the conductor of a massive biological orchestra. It coordinates everything. When you feel sleepy, when your hormones spike, when your immune system is primed for defense, and when your metabolism is optimized to burn fuel.
And a conductor needs sheet music to know what tempo to set. From what I understand, the sheet music for the SCN is light.
Exactly. The human nervous system is fundamentally photoreceptive. The SCN is directly connected to the retinas in your eyes. When light enters your eyes, specifically the bright, blue-rich light of the morning sun, it sends a high-speed signal straight to the SCN. That signal tells the master clock, it is morning, start the engine. The SCN then sends cascading signals to millions of peripheral clocks located in your liver, your muscles, your heart, and your fat tissue. It aligns them all to the same time zone.
So light isn't just something that helps us see our environment. Light is quite literally biological software. It programs our nervous system every single day.
That is a beautiful way to phrase it. Light is the primary programming language of human biology, and that brings us to the core of the modern crisis. We have aggressively disrupted that programming. Think about artificial lighting, shift work, late-night screen exposure, and irregular sleep schedules. We are feeding our brains completely chaotic data.
Right, because if you are staring at a bright LED screen at midnight, your eyes are telling your master clock that the sun is high in the sky. You are sitting on your couch, but biologically your brain thinks it is high noon.
Exactly. The brain no longer receives clear, contrasting environmental signals about what is day and what is night. The boundary between activity and recovery has been erased. Because of this, those internal rhythms, the master clock in the brain and the peripheral clocks in the organs, begin to drift apart. They stop communicating efficiently.
It sounds like millions of people are biologically operating in the wrong time zone continuously without ever getting on an airplane. It is a state of chronic, localized jet lag.
That is a highly accurate description. And the collateral damage of this localized jet lag is severe, particularly when we look at the hormonal timing war happening inside the body. The two major players here are cortisol and melatonin.
Cortisol often gets a bad reputation as the stress hormone, but we actually need it, right? It just needs to show up at the right time.
Exactly. Cortisol is not the enemy. Healthy cortisol rises naturally in the early morning. It is what pulls you out of sleep. It promotes alertness, mobilizes energy from your energy stores, and primes your brain for the challenges of the day. It is your biological ignition switch. Melatonin, on the other hand, is supposed to increase much later, in the darkness, to initiate cellular repair, recovery, and sleep preparation. They operate like a seesaw. When one is high, the other should be low.
But modern life has essentially broken the seesaw.
Completely. Artificial nighttime light suppresses melatonin production. Your brain thinks the sun is still up, so it delays the release of the recovery hormone. Meanwhile, the chronic psychological stress of modern work elevates cortisol at completely inappropriate times, like when you are checking emails in bed at 11 at night. The biological rhythm becomes inverted or severely fragmented.
Which explains a phenomenon I hear people talk about all the time, being wired and tired. You are deeply exhausted. Your eyes are burning, your body aches, but your mind is racing, and you physically cannot fall asleep. Meaning, modern humans often remain biologically awake even when their energy reserves are completely depleted.
Exactly. You are stepping on the gas pedal and the brakes at the exact same time. It is a state of profound physiological confusion. And this confusion doesn't just affect sleep and stress. It completely dictates our metabolism.
Let's pivot to that because the intersection of circadian rhythms and food is fascinating. We are so obsessed with what we eat, counting calories, tracking macros, debating diets, but it seems like the body doesn't just care what we eat, it cares deeply about when we eat it.
Very much so. Metabolism itself follows a strict circadian timing. Your insulin sensitivity, your digestive enzyme production, and your glucose metabolism fluctuate dramatically throughout the day. Your body is highly optimized to process food, extract nutrients, and manage blood sugar during the daylight hours when you are naturally active.
So, a meal eaten at noon is processed entirely differently than the exact same meal eaten at midnight?
Absolutely. If you eat a heavy meal late at night, you are introducing fuel into a system that has already shut down its primary metabolic factories. Your insulin sensitivity drops in the evening. This means late-night eating conflicts with your natural metabolic programming. The glucose stays in your bloodstream longer, promoting fat storage and systemic inflammation. Nutrient timing isn't just about digestion. It becomes a form of biological communication. When you eat late, you are sending a wake-up signal to the peripheral clocks in your liver and gut, while the master clock in your brain is trying to shut things down.
You are essentially creating a civil war inside your own organs. The brain is saying go to sleep, and the liver is saying, we just received a massive shipment of calories, we have to start working.
That is exactly what happens. And if we zoom in even closer, past the organs, down to the microscopic level, we see this civil war happening inside the cells themselves. I am talking about the mitochondria.
The powerhouses of the cell. The actual engines that generate our energy. Are you saying that even our cellular energy production is tied to the circadian clock?
Correct. Mitochondrial energy production is deeply circadian. Mitochondria produce ATP, which is the fundamental energy currency of life, but they don't produce it at a flat, constant rate. They operate much more efficiently when they are synchronized with natural biological rhythms. They have peak production hours and necessary maintenance hours.
That makes perfect sense. Any high-performance engine needs downtime for maintenance.
Precisely. During deep sleep, your cells clear out metabolic waste and repair oxidative stress. But when you introduce sleep disruption and circadian chaos, you impair this entire process. ATP production drops. Oxidative stress accumulates. The body literally loses its metabolic precision. This is where deep chronic fatigue comes from. It isn't just a feeling in your head. Your cells are actually failing to produce energy efficiently because their timing mechanisms are broken. Burnout accelerates at the cellular level.
It really reframes the way we look at modern exhaustion. Energy problems are actually timing problems at the cellular level. But the impact isn't just physical, is it? Let's talk about the brain, because when people are burned out, the first thing to go isn't usually their physical strength, it's their mental sharpness. The cognitive cost of this circadian chaos seems incredibly high.
The brain is arguably the most vulnerable organ to circadian disruption. When your rhythms are misaligned, your prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for advanced executive function, takes a massive hit. We see severe impairments in attention span, working memory, reaction time, and complex decision-making.
It is the classic brain fog. You stare at a spreadsheet or a document and you just cannot process the information.
Yes, and it goes beyond just being unproductive. Emotional regulation is deeply tied to circadian alignment. When the prefrontal cortex is metabolically stressed from sleep deprivation and timing mismatch, it loses its ability to regulate the amygdala, which is the emotional center of the brain. You become more reactive, more irritable, and more prone to anxiety. The sleep-deprived or desynchronized brain behaves exactly like a metabolically stressed brain.
So many people are walking around mentally exhausted, thinking they are losing their edge or that they just aren't resilient enough. But the reality is, their nervous systems have simply lost temporal alignment. We have built a society that demands peak cognitive performance while systematically destroying the biological rhythms required to sustain it. It is a profound paradox.
It is a paradox, and it is a massive hidden tax on society. We are sacrificing our biological efficiency for the illusion of continuous productivity. But the irony is, by ignoring our circadian biology, we are actually making ourselves less productive, less creative, and far more prone to error.
This brings us to the ultimate question. We understand the master clock, the hormones, the metabolism, and the cognitive cost. But we can't all quit our jobs, throw away our smartphones, and move to a cabin in the woods to live by candlelight. Modern life is here to stay. So, how do we fix this? How do we adapt?
The answer lies in what we can call circadian rhythms too. We cannot fully escape modern work demands, but we can become significantly more biologically strategic. And the most powerful performance tool we have available to us right now is the intelligent management of light.
Light as performance technology. I love that concept. Walk us through what that actually looks like in practice.
It starts the moment you wake up. Morning sunlight exposure is non-negotiable. Getting outside within the first hour of waking and letting natural light hit your eyes is the strongest signal you can send to your SCN. It anchors your master clock. It triggers that healthy cortisol spike. It boosts your daytime alertness. And, crucially, it sets a timer for melatonin production roughly 14 to 16 hours later.
So, by getting sunlight in the morning, you are actually improving your sleep for that night. You are setting the biological timer.
Exactly. And the second half of that strategy happens in the evening. Just as morning light is medicine, artificial blue light at night is a toxin to your circadian system. Reducing overhead lighting, using blue light blocking technology, and stepping away from screens in the hours before bed allows your melatonin to rise naturally. You are using light as biological software, consciously programming your nervous system for recovery.
It is about creating artificial boundaries in a world that no longer has natural ones. And I imagine this strategy extends beyond just light.
Very much so. It is about strategic alignment across the board. Meal timing, restricting your eating window to daylight hours, and avoiding late-night meals to keep your metabolism synchronized. Sleep consistency, going to bed and waking up at the exact same time every day, even on weekends, to prevent that localized jet lag. Exercise timing, stress regulation, and intentional recovery rituals. These are not just wellness trends, they are survival strategies for the modern nervous system.
It is a completely different way of looking at health. The goal is not primitive living. We aren't trying to go backward in time. The goal is intelligent synchronization. We are using modern understanding to protect ancient biology.
Beautifully said. We have to consciously engineer circadian alignment inside modern civilization. When you align your light exposure, your food intake, and your sleep with your natural biological rhythms, you stop fighting your body. You allow your systems to work with you instead of against you.
Meaning, circadian mastery isn't just about feeling a little less tired, it becomes modern biological leverage. It is the foundation of true high performance.
Absolutely. You cannot hack your way out of a broken biological clock. But when you fix the timing, everything else, your energy, your focus, your mood, your resilience, naturally optimizes itself.
It leaves us with such a profound thought. Perhaps modern civilization didn't actually destroy human energy. Perhaps it simply disconnected us from time itself. We forgot that we are creatures of rhythm.
Because deep inside every single human cell, biology still listens to that rhythm. It listens for the light, it listens for the darkness. It requires the dynamic pulse of activity and the deep silence of recovery. And perhaps true high performance begins when humans finally learn to synchronize modern ambition with our ancient biological timing.
A perfect place to leave it. We need to remember that the body performs best in rhythm. Until next time, stay synchronized.